second episode of Choose Pinas. You got me, Mandy.
And Emil.
Today's going to be very special because we're going to be having our first guest. Now, actually, if you count Emil as a guest, he's the second guest. But since Emil is a constant in this show, then he's our first guest. Yay!
Yeah!
And I don't know if you noticed that I actually prettified today. I put on a little bit of makeup and I cut my own hair. Can you see the theme? Can you see this whole theme?
You are so beautiful.
Thank you. But can you see the theme? Do you see if there's a theme in my makeup and in my look?
You look so Filipino.
Thank you, but it's not that. Okay, the reason why I put on all this makeup and I did my hair like this is because it has something to do with our guest today, which is actually in the waiting room. I hope he's not getting mad that we're not inviting him
Waiting
yet.
for us.
Yeah, he's waiting for us. So this is actually like party themed.
Yeah.
You
You
get why?
actually always look like party, even if you don't make up.
You don't see me a lot without makeup, dude, so no.
Yeah.
So, wait a minute. The reason why I put on this party look is because our guest today is actually a very special, very popular DJ who goes by the name...
DJ John Robinson.
Okay, let's get him in. Let's get him in.
Let's get him in.
Let's get him in. All right, DJ John is in, but he doesn't have his video on just yet.
Let's connect.
All right.
Like waiting.
Hello, John.
Hey,
Hi.
John.
Oh, hey, John. Hi. Can you hear us clearly?
Very clear. All good.
All good.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to
Thank you
Choose
very
Pinas. Yes. And since it's our second episode, I'm going to have Emil take the reins for the Q&A for our very special guest. Can you please introduce our special guest, Emil?
Of course. Well, it's none on the other, the John Robinson, the legend DJ.
Legendary.
It's amazing. I met John about a year and a half ago, okay, through my wife. And, I didn't know that when you look at him, he looks like a simple person, relaxed person. But then when you look him on the set, give him music, it's like an amazing person.
Awesome.
So, John, can you talk about more about yourself, what you're up to now? You're based in the Philippines, right? Currently.
Yeah, I'm based here in the Philippines. Well, what I'm up to, if it hadn't been for transitioning to do what I do online, I wouldn't be up to much. Obviously, we're all in the same boat. I usually tour, 7-8 times a year. I do, go off to Japan, do a tour and come back, and then I do gigs here and so on. Unfortunately, all that's gone, one by one, they've been cancelled. And on the first day it was the day before lockdown here. And you're Italian, aren't you?
Oh, of course. As far as I remember, I am.
Well, I have to thank your countrymen then, because the day before lockdown here, I saw a news report and I saw somebody entertaining people from their balcony, to keep them spirits up. Remember that during the lockdown? And I thought, well, I've got a balcony here, but if I do anything here in the balcony, probably it won't be much appreciated. I'll probably get stuff thrown at me. But what can I do? And so I went, literally, this was just hours before lockdown was coming in. I went out, grabbed some webcams, came back, studied up, got this broadcast software, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, went online the first night of lockdown. And then we've been lucky enough to build this online event called Sanctuary. So that's what's keeping me busy.
Sanctuary.
Mandy, if you do not know, John is as he said, since start of the lockdown, he started this Sanctuary. And actually, he did an amazing job. He helped us with a lot of projects as well. He's actually raising funds for the less fortunate. So there is always a cost behind it.
Every episode.
We don't raise funds every episode. We do 3 episodes a week. We do a Friday night, a Saturday night here in the Philippines, and I get up early again on a Sunday morning to do one for North America Prime. But since we started, I think we're around about, if I'm not mistaken, around about 3 million pesos that we've raised.
Amazing.
Amazing.
I mean, in the big picture, it's a drop in the ocean, but with everybody else doing a little bit here, a little bit there, hopefully it helps a little bit. So we've supported different causes, and we try to,
Lovely.
yeah. It's given me a raison d'etre, like a reason to be, a mission, something to keep me occupied and busy during these challenging times.
That's
And
amazing.
it's entertaining. I mean, I've been, it's fun. You bring
Thank
loves
you.
to the family, to the homes of the people. Like, we love you. We drink wine and just listen to John.
You know
But
what?
let's go.
I can actually like try to bookmark your shows and throw a party myself here in my own
I'm
apartment,
sure.
my own studio,
Go
because I
for it.
actually miss that. And
Go
one of
for
the
it.
reasons why I'm looking like this, I'm all made up with all my bangs and my makeup, because it's in honor of you, man. Yeah, I want to show
Bless
you
you.
that I'm ready.
Now you make me feel bad. I didn't shave for today. You're
It's
you're
okay.
making me feel bad.
It's okay. You look amazing. You look amazing.
look
Yes,
amazing.
Emil,
Thank
Always.
you.
you wanted to ask John something?
Yes, John. So this is your current situation, right? So you're trying to, make music, help people, and keep people entertained. Let's go a bit, more backward, back in the
Sure.
days. You were from UK, right?
That's right.
And yeah, go ahead. You're from
I'm an Irishman who grew up in England.
Irishman, exactly. I really have a question for you. What brought you to the Philippines?
That's a good question. And we have to go back in time, and I'm going to apologize if it's a bit of a long answer. So
That's fine.
I started off as a DJ super young. I mean, super, super young. I mean, I wasn't yet 13 when I had my first gig. And so everything else sort of was accelerated and started young. So to cut a long story short, after doing clubs in England and so on, I started to work internationally. I joined a company at the time which had clubs around the world, and that saw me based in and out of Dubai on and off for a couple of years.
Wow.
And
Wow.
this was back before Dubai was Dubai. It was still a small place, but still a lot of Filipinos there. It's where I sort of was introduced to Philippines and Philippine culture in some ways. And at the time, the club which I was working in Dubai, it was the best club that the company I was working for had. And I'd been there a few times, and I'd won something that they have for their DJs and so on. And I was only 21, but I had figured, where do I go from here? This is their best club. If I stay with them, anything else is going to be a step backwards, a step down. And there were, as I said, a lot of Filipinos that I'd met there in Dubai, and some of the artista of the time used to come through Dubai to do shows and so on. And people say, "Oh, why don't you come to the Philippines? Why don't you try the Philippines? I'm sure you'd have fun here. You do well here. Blah blah blah." And I was looking for a new challenge, and I guess it kind of grew on me, the idea. And then I said, yeah, what the hell? Why not? You only live once. Let's go for it.
Lovely.
YOLO.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
John's like that. It's like you only live once with John.
And then just to make things a little more complicated, in the midst of that, I'd finished that contract, went home to see my parents for a little while, had my ticket and everything booked. And then a revolution happened, and my flight was due for 2 days after the revolution. And I said, well, as you said, YOLO, I said, I'm still going. This is my plan. This is it. So so I went anyway. So it was an interesting time to arrive in the Philippines.
Lovely. And so the first time you came to the Philippines was just for a gig, right? How long did you stay in the Philippines?
No. I'd been to the Philippines on a little trip before I came to live here. So I'd been here for a few weeks in 1985. And then 1986, I didn't have any gig booked. I didn't have any work booked, didn't have anything. It was just a sort of a whim, a thought that, yeah, I can do this. Had no idea if I could or not, but power positive thinking and make it happen and all of that. I just came here. There wasn't any gig booked or anything.
So basically, what you're saying is that what got you in the Philippines is just pure guts.
Yeah, if you put it that way, I guess so.
I admire that. That's amazing.
Wow.
That's wonderful.
And
That's
it turned
lovely.
out to be really sort of fortuitous, because that was a period of great change and great optimism. And, it was really, it was a case of, zeitgeist, serendipity, whatever word you want to use, just landing in the right place at the right time. So it was really cool.
That's so
Lovely.
amazing. Yeah,
That's amazing.
lovely.
But I was curious, actually. So your first, somehow you came to the Philippines, right? Currently, you're based in the Philippines. It's obvious for the listener, but you actually have a huge crowd when it comes to Japan,
Well,
right?
Japan, yeah. I mean, my two main markets are the Philippines and Japan. Um, so I was very, very lucky during my time here. I was able to do a lot of things, and I also made so many mistakes. But I was able to sort of, you got to learn from your mistakes and all. And as corny as this sounds, I literally woke up one morning and knew that I needed to go to Japan. Don't ask me why. I can't give you an answer, but I
The
just woke
YOLO
up and
one.
knew. Yeah, it just felt there was a pull, and I don't know why. I'd never spent time there or anything. Um, and to cut another long story short, I had this inspiration. I have to do this. So I wrote to a little Japanese production company, said, hey, I want to come to Japan. This is who I am. This is what I do. I want to learn to produce. I want to learn to remix, blah, blah, blah. And they said, well, why not come here for 1 month and let's see how it goes? We'll pay you this, that, and the other. So I went there for the 1 month, and I ended up living there for 10 years and traveling back and forth every
Oh,
weekend for
wow.
about another 10 years. And now I still tour when there isn't a pandemic grounding us all.
Lovely. Wow, wow, wow. So currently you're based in the Philippines, I guess, by choice, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that goes with the show. I mean, the show is called Choose Pinas, right? The idea of the show is really to, we want to hear from you. Why did you choose Philippines versus Japan, for example?
Well, we'd lived in Japan. I mean, actually, before I moved back to the Philippines, we were living in Vegas, and I was working in Vegas, and still back and forth to Japan. And I'm not I'm not old. Well, yeah, I'm old for a DJ, I suppose, but I don't feel old. But traveling from the States to tour in Asia is kind of, it takes a toll. It's kind of heavy if you do that quite often. That wasn't the main reason we moved, though. My wife's father was not so well at the time. I mean, he's
Oh, yeah.
since passed, which was really sad. But my wife we'd come here to a trip to the Philippines, and I'd gone back to the States, I think, and my wife Rax had stayed on here. And she'd felt the pull that, it was time to come back and spend a little bit more time with the family. And she was sort of
Oh.
like worried to ask me this. And then she called up and said, I've been thinking that it's maybe time to spend some time in the Philippines. I said, you're preaching to the choir here. I've just been waiting for you. So I got the house on the market and sold in about a week, and put
Wow.
everything in motion for us to move
Wow.
back. So I was really, I've always loved the Philippines, so it wasn't a hard sell.
That's such a
Lovely,
good thing to
lovely.
hear from you. Yeah. I just want to ask, because in the past few episodes that we had, we've talked about differences in culture and similarities. What about we talk this time, since you're a DJ, what about we talk about the differences and the similarities of the music taste of Filipinos, Japanese, and Irish people when it comes to party music?
That's a good question too. Irish people, I couldn't tell you because I've never done gigs in Ireland. I could
Mm.
do here and Japan and the States, perhaps. So I was based in the States before moving back here. Um, that's interesting, and I don't really know how to address it. Primarily because people knew me in the past here. Primarily in the Philippines, I'm known as a retro DJ. And I'd never really seen myself as that. And I was talking to a friend of mine recently, and we just realized that about 10 years ago, I did the first gig for her in San Francisco, which was a retro gig for the Philippine community.
Oh,
And she kind of had to
Wow.
talk me into it because I'd never looked backwards to those days as a DJ. You know, you always want to be now and tomorrow, not yesterday. But you know, kind of convinced me, and I sort of went back and figured, well, okay, I'm at such and such a stage now, so it's okay to go backwards, and you know, it's roots and all. So that was kind of where it was. So in terms of that, it's a little difficult for the comparisons. It's a bit like comparing apples and oranges. Here,
yeah.
I'm playing, you know, predominantly retro music to an older crowd, and in Japan, I'm playing trance and EDM to a younger crowd. So it's not
I love
necessarily
trance.
fair.
Oh, yeah.
Well, me too. Trance is my passion. That's what I love. That's what I did for years in Japan. So that's really where, you know, huge part of my musical heart is full of trance. So it's really difficult to make the comparisons. And again, in the States, playing in Vegas, unless you're playing in, you know, the places like, you know, Omnia and Hakkasan where the big guys play, Vegas is counterintuitively surprisingly conservative. You know, the music taste is very open format. You know, it's a bit of this, a bit of that. So it's really very, very hard to make comparisons. I hope that's a kind of non-answer to your question.
That's okay. That's okay. Well, at least
Each
that
people
gives
different taste.
yeah, different people, different taste, different strokes for different.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it kind of gives us as well a good perspective on the tastes of people that and gives us a mental picture of the places that you actually played in. Oh my God. Can you tell us more about those places? What's your, let's say, what's the most memorable gig that you've ever had here in the Philippines?
Okay. So it was probably early 2000s, 2003 maybe, I'm not sure. I had a long-running party in Japan called Planet Love, which was a trance event. It was an after hours. We used to start at sunrise and we'd finish around about 2 p.m. And a radio station here in the Philippines decided to bring in Planet Love for, I think it was at Halloween. So we did Halloween inside the, do you remember the NBC tent in the forts, the fort strip? I think we did Planet Love inside the NBC tent.
Oh wow!
And it was insane.
That sounded like a long time ago.
That's like
but it was crazy. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was like a bomb went off. It was so fun. I really enjoyed that one. That was memorable. Another memorable one was playing on the corner of Makati Avenue and Ayala for the New Year's when it was turning over to year 2000, and they had this huge street party. That was fun.
That's amazing. Wow. Yeah, those were the days where you can just party all night and not worry about anything, right?
Yep. No, those are really fun times.
Yeah, and I think that there's still like a huge market out there for kids, not really kids, but you know, adults, young adults who love trance. Because I myself have been to, I think it was like 2 years ago, before all this pandemic started, I went to an Above and Beyond concert. Yeah, Above and Beyond Group Therapy concert in Hong Kong. I think it's ABGT 300, and there's plenty of people out there. Yeah, there's plenty of people.
And the thing about, I know them from Japan days, and they're, I mean, you look at their Above and Beyond, they're not young guys.
Yeah,
they're not young guys at all. But yeah, it's interesting because the shows that I do here online for, you know, during the pandemic, Sanctuary, it's predominantly retro music. But recently, you know, late night, I've kind of, for whatever reason, I went off on a tangent and started playing a little bit of trance, and I was surprised at how many of the people who were watching even Sanctuaries, trance, go. So
trance.
Yeah. I think with trance, I think you get not really, I'm not saying old, but a more mature audience, right?
Yeah.
I think
little bit, yeah. I mean, it depends where I guess, it depends where within that big world of trance it falls. But I mean, I love classic trance. And
classic trance.
I think it's very accessible. It's not like it's not too heavy. It's accessible.
Right,
Lovely.
right. There's just a flow to it that you can't really explain with words. I can explain it
Do you
with
know what? Do you know how I explain? For me, good trance, it's emotional. It's
yes.
and if you look at the chord progressions and structures of the music, it's the closest for me to classical music. And trance can actually pull you in and make you smile, bring tears to your eyes, actually really pull you in. And that's
Yes,
without lyrics or anything. That's just from the feel of the music. So I think it's unique, perhaps, in that respect.
That's
that's right.
amazing. Yeah, that's right.
John, do you produce? Do you still produce now, or you just play?
I produce on occasion, not as much as I
Okay.
should. Really, not as much as I should.
Yeah, yeah. Lovely. So let's talk about. So we talk about music. I want to go more in depth since we're talking about Philippines. How
Okay.
was the adjust? Now let's go to the opposite. I wouldn't call it opposite of music, but let's go into food. Okay.
Okay.
Mandy is okay because you know that's having a John, you're still a foreigner in the Philippines, although you might be more Filipino than other Filipino in the country, but because you've been here for 20, 30 years, right? But you're still a foreigner. How did you adjust to the Filipino food coming from Ireland, UK? I mean,
Well,
completely
I mean,
different. Yeah.
I'm an open when it comes to that, and we're very lucky here in the Philippines because we have got, like, especially these days, we've got like a nation of foodies. I mean, you can find absolutely anything you want to eat, anytime, anywhere. Um, and there's a lot of Filipino food that I like, and there's quite a bit of Filipino food that I don't like. Um, we
Can
did
you name two you don't like?
Yeah, two of those that you don't
well.
like.
Well, we did. We did a
Oh.
fundraising recently, and one of the things that we did, or to really push the thing, I'd never eaten balut, and I couldn't even consider eating balut. But
Why?
I
It's
did, I
good.
did, I did a balut challenge so that if they donated X amount to the charity, I'd have one. If they donated Y amount, I'd do two, and if they did
Oh
like
my
the top amount, I'd do
God.
three.
That's
And
genius. That's genius.
well, and they really, really wanted to see me suffer because we smashed it. I mean, it was a lot of money. It was probably $1,500, which is is a
Wow.
lot
Oh
of
my.
and so I had to eat these things live on camera, and I understand it's a delicacy. I respect that, and I respectfully decline to ever have it again. Thank you so much.
There's another
So
idea that I could pitch to you. You could
go
actually,
for it.
give a price to a certain number of days to the balut. Let's say it's like 16 days and 21 days. 16 days, I think I can still take it because you don't really see the embryo or you don't really feel it so much when you try to swallow it. The 21 days, it's a little bony. So
No,
Or
no,
whatever
no.
they provided me, because to make it fair and so that they knew that I wasn't just eating, a boiled egg, one of the viewers was the one who supplied
the
the balut.
balut. Oh god.
Yeah, and let me just say there were some really, really tough, chewy bits in it, which, yeah. So balut is not my favorite.
Yeah.
I don't
What's the
mind
second
saying.
one?
I'm not too fond of innards, so things like that might have
Understood.
tripe or dinagoan and things like that.
Yeah,
Maybe not my favorites.
same. On the second
Understood.
balut, I've tried it, but yeah, on the other hand, also I do not eat dinuguan and etc. Yeah.
Yeah. Believe it or not, my fiance's never ever tried any of those.
Really?
Never. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's Filipino.
He's full Filipino, U.S. citizen,
Okay.
but Filipino, but never
Okay.
tried any of it. Yeah. In my village,
Well,
you can't get out of get past the Kanto boys if you don't get balut or take a shot of the gin bulag. So
well,
I gotta toughen it
you're
up,
gonna have
man.
to make him try it so he gets his Filipino card back.
Yeah. You gotta toughen up, man.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to the industry that you chose. How has it affected you, especially these days? Like, what are the adjustments that you had to make and all that stuff?
Well, I mean, these days, if you want it to be brutally frank and honest, pretty much I haven't earned a cent since the end of Feb. I mean, that's the way to look at it.
Yeah.
The industry is dead in the water. That being said, I have recently, probably based on what I've learned doing these online things, now doing virtual corporate parties. So it's, you have to adjust and do something. So I've done 3 or 4 of these so far, and it seems to be quite good. Seems to be working quite well.
Lovely.
Different, but you evolve or die, right? So it's had to move on and do something else. So that seems to be working okay. We're working on a few other ideas for future. A big Halloween party is the next plan. Costume party, but virtually. So we got lots of things we're working on.
Lovely, lovely. So to follow to Mandy's question, do you think that the industry you're in, there is a big potential of innovation when it comes to online? DJ, we have a lot of DJ in the market, right?
Yeah.
And now you see them playing on social media for free. Some, as you said, corporate events. But do you think the music industry as a whole, could it be having a new technology innovation soon that has to adapt, either if we are in a pandemic or not? Because we don't know how long this will last.
No, we don't, and it's actually a really deep question, and I'm not altogether sure. I mean, our industry is based on being social. The rush and the energy that you get in a club, it's based on critical mass, hundreds of people reacting together and reacting off each other, and the DJ's feeding off that energy and the people feeding off the DJ. It's a very different situation when you've got the DJ on a screen and you're sitting on the sofa with a drink. I don't want to make that sound necessarily negative, but it's different. And I'm not sure how we can generate that same energy. I mean, we've got some unique technological ideas that we're going to be trying, whereby we bring the audience into it, like having, for example, imagine behind me there's a gig that we're planning where I'm on a set, but behind me there's multiple screens with hundreds of people who are actually watching wherever they are, but they're there as a virtual audience. But again, it's still not the same, it's you don't see hundreds of people's faces when you're doing a kind of gig. You feel that energy of the mass. It's more like the sum of the whole, if that makes some kind of sense. So I don't know where we're going with this.
It's kind of hard to read a room.
Well, reading the room is when I do these online gigs so far, you can, people have got various emotes and emojis and all stuff. They're called emotes on Twitch. When something goes out that they love, the thing lights up, and it's almost like you feel you have to read the room by keeping an eye on the chat. I have in front of where I DJ, I've got different screens and stuff going on, but I've got a 40-inch screen which is at my eye line where the camera is, and right on that I have all of the messages from the different platforms coming in together. So when you see that swell in the chat, it's similar to seeing that swell in the crowd, if that makes some kind of sense. So it's reading them a completely, and it's reading them a completely different way, and then that psychs me up and gets me going. So it is different, though. It really is.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's amazing. So, what would you like to do right after the pandemic?
Have a huge gig.
Have a huge gig.
Please invite us.
But probably more important, love to be able to get out somewhere with the family, go somewhere where, I mean, I've got in the background here, I've actually on the TV on the other side, I've got a video playing, an 8-hour loop of islands. In fact, let me show you for a second so you can see what I'm actually looking. So you can see a lot that's going on over here. So you can kind of see exactly what I'm pining for by what I've got on as my video wallpaper in the background.
That's good. It's good to look forward to things, right?
Yeah. So I need to get to a beach. I need to get to some water. I need to do something like that. That's got to be first on the list. In fact, that's got to be done in a socially safe manner in the very near future. I need to get near. I've literally have been in our building for the most part for 5 months, and we're quite lucky because we're one family in a building in different units. So we're much luckier than people who are, one person living alone or a couple of people in a small condo. We've got the space to move around a little bit. We've got the roof deck. But at the end of the day, I've been in one place for 5 months, 6 months.
5 months or 6 months already.
Yeah, right. I'm getting beginning to get a bit stir crazy, a little bit.
I feel you.
But I think the craziness that you've been experiencing has actually pushed you to do some good, right? Like raising money,
Raising money has been awesome. I mean, it kind of just fell into place. It wasn't like part of a master plan, but after we did the first week and so, hey, maybe we can help with this. And then that sort of fell into it as well. And it's really given me a mission. So I'm very grateful for the people of you because it's given me something to do. I mean, it gives me something to do 3 times a week. And then the rest of the week, I've learned all about these various broadcast platforms, how to stream on multiple networks at once, editing. I mean, all sorts of skills that, you have to teach yourself. I can't call in somebody to do all the tech stuff for me. You got to figure it out. So it's been quite fun.
Awesome.
Nice.
Awesome. So we're down to our last few minutes here on the show. What would you like to tell Filipinos here and abroad, during in or out the music industry? What would you want to tell them, like, to hang on or to, to encourage them in these like really hard times?
Well, I mean, this too shall pass.
True.
I mean,
that's true.
So
that's true.
And there's, so we've been sort of held down, if you like, but there's so many things to look forward to. There's so many things that we can get back to and experience. But I think the takeaway from all of this is, when it's possible, live life to the fullest. I mean, if this last 5 for 6 months has shown us anything, is that the world can change on a dime. Nobody saw this coming. It kind of happened real quick. I mean, well, kind of quick if you're following the news out of China.
Exactly.
I mean, it was pretty clear where this was going to lead, right? It was like a slow motion thing. It's like, oh God, you kind of knew what was going to happen, but in the big picture, it was in the blink of an eye and in time scale. So yeah, live life to the fullest. Get out there and do everything you can.
YOLO, guys.
And party.
And party like John does.
Party with DJ John Robinson. So would you please tell our audience where we can find you, where we can find your streams?
All right. The easiest place to find my streams, and Facebook cuts people off. I mean, everybody DJs on Facebook, but every 30 minutes or so, they pull the stream. So there's a platform called Twitch, twitch.tv.
Mm-hmm.
So you go to twitch.tv/official DJ John Robinson.
Awesome.
And live every Friday and Saturday Philippine time from 9 p.m. and in North America on Saturday night. Also for you guys, 10 p.m. on the East, 7 p.m. on the West.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Thanks so much for, be game and be part of this. I'm sure with what you've shared, you'll inspire people that, despite the pandemic, despite we are in a bad situation, we just have to look forward and keep moving.
Yeah,
we have.
Thank you.
Got to keep spirits up, keep positive, and party.
Thank you, John. That was lovely. And
thank you both so much for having me.
Of course, we'd love to have you next time in a very formal, studio setup.
Anytime.
Yeah, we're
You
so
guys know
sorry
how to
about this
find
whole
me.
setup right now. We just had to like make some changes, of course, because
It's
I
all
guess
good.
it's safer for everybody. All right, thank you so much for your time. I
Thank you,
hope
John.
you and your family are well.
Likewise, take care, you and your fiance, and Emil, love to Doctora and the kids.
Thank you.
Take
Thank
care.
you so much.
All right, guys.
Thank you.
Ciao.